College English Test, Band 4. Part 2, Listening Comprehension. Section A. Directions. In this section, you will hear 3 news reports. At the end of each news report, you will hear 2 or 3 questions. Both the news report and the questions will be spoken only once. After you hear a question, you must choose the best answer from the 4 choices marked A, B, C, and D. Then mark the corresponding letter on answer sheet 1 with a single line through the center. Questions 1 and 2 will be based on the following news item.
UN extends African Union peacekeeping mission in Somalia. South African Ambassador Dumisani Khumalo says he voted for the resolution, but adds he was not enthusiastic about it. Khumalo said he had expected the Security Council to make a firm decision about sending UN peacekeeping troops to Somalia to supplement the African Union mission there. The African Union, it's like when your house is on fire, the neighbors come with buckets of water. But the neighbors are not the fire engine, he said. The fire engine is the United Nations. So we want to see the United Nations getting involved on the ground in Somalia, because that issue belongs to the United Nations. It cannot be left only to the African Union. The African Union has sent 8,000 troops to a peacekeeping mission, but 6 months in, fewer than 1/4 of them have arrived. There are currently 1,700 African Union troops, all from Uganda.
Question 1. What did Khumalo expect the Security Council to do? Question 2. What do we learn about the African Union?
Questions 3 and 4 will be based on the following news item.
The Commerce Department said sales fell by 11.3% to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 355,000 homes, down from a revised 400,000 in October. The fall reflects the extension of first-time buyer tax credits, which had become due in November. The total was far lower than analysts had expected, and the data wiped out early gains in shares on Wall Street. Home sales had been boosted by buyers looking to take advantage of the tax credit. But now that they have been extended to April, the incentive to buy has disappeared, analysts say. As a result, buyer traffic is likely to be flat until spring, predicted Mark Wittner at Wells Fargo Securities. The median sales price for November was $217,000.
Question 3. What's the main reason for the dropping in new home sales? Question 4. What do we learn from Mark Wittner's remark?
Questions 5 to 7 will be based on the following news item.
Reports in Israeli media say Israel's ambassador to the United States, Michael Oren, told Israeli diplomats that American-Israeli relations were facing a crisis of historic proportions. Washington is angry at last week's announcement by Israel during a visit by the U.S. Vice President that more new Jewish homes were to be built in occupied East Jerusalem. But on Monday, the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told the Israeli parliament the building project would continue. Mr. Netanyahu has been presented with a choice: in violation with the right-wing members of his ally, or with the Americans. With his speech to the Knesset, He seems to have chosen to put the needs of domestic politics first. It seems the Americans are so angry because they believe Mr. Netanyahu went back on an understanding. This was apparent that Israel would not push forward any big new settlement building projects in East Jerusalem. This was necessary if the Palestinians were to be persuaded to join the long-delayed negotiations, so difficulty put together by U.S. go-betweens.
Question 5. What did Michael Oren say about the American-Israeli relations? Question 6. What caused the crisis between America and Israel? Question 7. What does Netanyahu pay most attention to?
Section B. Directions. In this section, you will hear 2 long conversations. At the end of each conversation, you will hear 4 questions. Both the conversation and the questions will be spoken only once. After you hear a question, you must choose the best answer from the 4 choices marked A, B, C, and D. Then mark the corresponding letter on answer sheet 1 with a single line through the center. Conversation 1.
Hey, Dave. I haven't seen you for ages. How have you been?
Oh, I'm doing okay. But school has been really busy these days, and I haven't had time to relax.
By the way, what's your major anyway?
Hotel management.
Well, what do you want to do once you graduate?
I haven't decided for sure, but I think I'd like to work for a hotel or travel agency in this area. How about you?
Well, when I first started college, I wanted to major in French, but I realized I might have a hard time finding a job using the language, so I changed my major to computer science. With the right skills, landing a job in the computer industry shouldn't be as difficult.
So, do you have a part-time job to support yourself through school?
Well, fortunately, I received a 4-year academic scholarship that pays for all of my tuition and books.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. How about you? Are you working your way through school?
Yeah, I work 3 times a week at a restaurant near campus.
Oh, what do you do there?
I'm a cook.
How do you like your job?
It's okay. The other workers are friendly, and the pay isn't bad.
Questions 8 to 11 are based on the conversation you have just heard.
Question 8. What does the man want to do after he graduates? Question 9. What is the woman majoring in? Question 10. How does the woman pay for college? Question 11. Where does the man work part-time?
Conversation 2.
Hello, Ultimate Computers. May I help you?
Yes, this is Jack Cordell from Hunter's Office Supplies. May I speak to Elaine Strong, please?
I'm sorry, but she's not in right now.
Okay. Do you know when she'll be back?
Yes. She should be here later on this afternoon, maybe about 4:30. May I take a message?
Yes. Miss Strong sent me a brochure detailing your newest line of laptop computers with a description of other software products, but there wasn't any information about after-sales service.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you like me to fax that to you?
Yes, but our fax is being repaired at the moment and it won't be working until around 2:30. Could you try sending that information around 3:30? That should give me time to look over the material before I call Ms. Strong, say, around 5 o'clock?
Sure. Could I have your name, telephone number, and fax number, please?
Yes, Jack Cordell, and the phone number is 560-1287, and the fax number is 560-1288.
Okay, Jack Cordell. Is your name spelled Cordel?
No, it's Cordell with a K and 2 L. Kordell.
All right, Mr. Cordell. And your phone number is 560-1287. And the fax number is 560-1288. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
All right. I'll be sure to send you the fax this afternoon.
Okay, bye.
Questions 12 to 15 are based on the conversation you have just heard.
Question 12. Why can't Elaine Strong answer the phone? Question 13. What does the man want the woman to send? Question 14. What do we know about the man's fax machine? Question 15. What can we learn about the man?
Section C. Directions. In this section, you will hear 3 passages. At the end of each passage, you will hear some questions. Both the passage and the questions will be spoken only once. After you hear a question, you must choose the best answer from the 4 choices marked A, B, C, and D. Then mark the corresponding letter on answer sheet 1 with a single line through the center. Passage 1.
The water clock was an ancient clock. It could be used on cloudy days, at night, and indoors. Such clocks were probably first used in Egypt about 2000 BC. They were also used for many years in Arabia, India, China, and all of Europe. The simplest water clock needed just 2 parts, a small bowl and a large bowl. The small bowl had a tiny hole in the bottom. The large bowl was divided into equal parts and marked by lines. Water was poured into the small bowl, and it fell slowly down into the large bowl in tiny drops. Usually, it took an hour for the water to rise from one line to the next in the large bowl. A beautiful water clock was made in Persia over 1,000 years ago. It was presented as a gift to the Emperor of France. This water clock could be heard as well as seen. The dial of the clock was made up of 12 doors, each representing an hour. Every hour a door opened, and the proper number of metal balls dropped onto a thin brass plate to strike the hour. At 12 o'clock, 12 tiny horsemen came out and shut all the doors. This was probably one of the first striking clocks.
Questions 16 to 18 are based on the passage you have just heard. Question 16.
When was the first water clock probably made?
Question 17.
What do we know about the structure of the simplest water clock?
Question 18.
What did the striking water clock use to strike hours?
Passage 2.
When my husband was promoted, we put our house up for sale. 3 weeks later, it was still on the market. I became a busy housekeeper. Every room had to be kept tidy, and dishes had to be washed and put away when used. Then one day the doorbell rang unexpectedly at 8 a.m. Sleepily, I opened the door and saw our agent standing there with a couple from New York. There had been no time to call, he explained, because the couple had to catch a plane home. The 3 people made their way past the dirty breakfast dishes on the kitchen table and into a bedroom with unmade beds. As I retreated into a bathroom to comb my hair, I heard the man say something to his wife. Then they both laughed. 2 days later, the agent phoned to tell me that the couple had bought the house. He repeated what the buyer had said when he handed over the check the following day. That house has a warm, lived-in feeling, just like ours.
Questions 19 to 21 are based on the passage you have just heard. Question 19.
Why did the speaker sell her house?
Question 20.
Why did the agent call on the speaker so early in the morning?
Question 21.
Why did the couple laugh in the speaker's house?
Passage 3.
When you take a walk in any of the cities in the West, you often see a lot of people walking dogs. It is still true that a dog is the most useful and faithful animal in the world, but the reasons why people keep a dog have changed. In the old days, people used to train dogs to protect themselves against attacks by other beasts. And later, they came to realize that a dog was not only useful for protection, but willing to obey his master. For example, when people used dogs for hunting, the dogs would not eat what was caught without permission. But now, people in the city need not protect themselves against attacks of animals. Why do they keep dogs then? Some people keep dogs to protect themselves from robbery. But the most important reason is for companionship. For a child, a dog is his best friend when he has no friends to play with. For young couples, a dog is their child when they have no children. For old couples, a dog is also their child when their real children have grown up. So the main reason why people keep dogs have changed from protection to friendship.
Questions 22 to 25 are based on the passage you have just heard. Question 22.
According to the passage, what were dogs trained for in the past?
Question 23.
Why were dogs used for hunting?
Question 24.
What is the most important reason for people in the city to keep dogs now?
Question 25.
What is the main idea of this passage?
This is the end of listening comprehension.